Okay, friends, so we had a little bit of an issue with pulling up everything we needed to on the IAR website. So I'm just going to run through these tutorials on a video so that you can see what you need to see. Okay, so I'm going to open up. So this first one is just going to be the tutorial of how the buttons work. And I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because I don't want this video to last forever and then take forever to upload. So the first one is pretty simple. It's just the buttons at the top to go forward and backwards. If they are blue, basically you can use them. The nice thing about IAR compared to MAP is that you can go back to a problem or a question that you've already been on. So that's kind of nice because if you kind of get sick of a question, you can move on to the next one and go back to that question later. So let's go to the next slide. Then one of the things I do like to point out on this page, your adult will walk you through this sign-in process. So that's not super important to me. And they'll also make sure that your name is at the top. But one thing I do want to point out with this audio test, that is another step that they will ask you to walk through. But when you click audio test, I'm going to do that so you can hear what that sounds like. Oh, this is a picture. Ha, I can't do it. Okay, I'll try to do that a little later. But once you hear that, it'll be like a doorbell, ding dong, ding dong. And you want to make sure that that sound is a perfect volume in your headphones. Okay, first of all, if you can't hear it in your headphones, then you need to make sure you tell an adult that you need a different pair of headphones. Another thing that might be causing you an issue is if you don't have your headphones pushed in all the way. Sometimes the iPad case makes it so that headphone adapter, the jack thing, doesn't get in all the way. So that's something else. You might just have to have a different set of headphones because your headphones don't work with the case. But what I want you to know is the volume level that you have it set on when you sign in will be locked. Okay, so you don't want to be locked in to a test when the volume is breaking your eardrums. All right, so the only time you can adjust the volume up and the volume down is before you click sign in. After that, it's going to lock it at that level. So you want to make sure it's not a whisper that you can barely hear, and it's not so loud that your ears are going to fall off. Okay, you probably will only ever need your headphones if one of your stories is a video instead of actual text. But I think that it's nice to have headphones on just to kind of cancel out some of the noise around you too. Okay, so moving on, there are a bunch of different things here in this toolbar at the top. We already talked about the front and back arrows. Underneath those, you will see the name of the test and which test number it is. There are 3 of both the math and the reading this year. And then you'll see what problem you're on out of how many total problems. Okay, so that's kind of nice too, because as you know, MAP does not do that. It just tells you what problem you're on. You don't know how many because it's a surprise based on how well you're doing. Okay, so then the next 2 are the review button and the bookmark button, and I will get to those in just a minute. Then we have some tools up here that you can use. It looks like this picture was taken during the math test or the math tutorial, which is why there are math tools there. I'll get to that in a minute also. And then the last thing is where it says guest there, they will make sure, whatever adult you're with, that you're checking to make sure your name is there, because you don't want to be taking somebody else's test, that's for sure, because then guess what, you still have to do your own. And there's also a way to exit the test from this way, but I'm not going to show you that because you should not need to use it. If for some reason you get sick during the test, or I don't know why else you'd have to leave your test in the middle of it, then your adult will know what to do there. So So I don't want you to be exiting the test unless you are supposed to be. All right, so we're going to go through each one of those toolbar things in a second. So I'm just going to skip on to this. All right, so remember I said there were a review button and a bookmark button. I'm not sure why the bookmark button isn't showing. You can see it up top on my actual screen, but there should be a bookmark button next to that review button as well. So when I click on review, it's going to show me every single test question. And if there is a yellow dot next to that test question, that means I have not answered that question. Okay, so if I'm looking at the review and I think that I finished my test, I'm going to see I have not finished 4, 5, 7, or 8. So I will need to go back and do those. The fastest way to get to those questions from this review is just to click where it says question 4, and it will take me straight to question 4. Okay, I can't do that right now because this is a picture, but I could actually go up here and I'll click question 4 where we just were, and then I'll go back and click question 5, and here we are. Okay, so that's the fastest way to get back to those problems that you have missed. And then it's also going to tell you in the bottom here how many questions there are total, how many questions you didn't answer, and then how many bookmarks. Now, I'm not really sure why they put a bookmark on number 7, but on number 3, you might be in the situation where you have answered the question, but you're like, oh, I don't want to take any more time on this. I think that's right, but I'm not positive. You can push that bookmark button at the very top, like I just did. See up there how it turned blue? So if I pulled down the review button, there is my bookmark there. Okay, so you would do that if you want to look back at that before you finish the test. So maybe you're worried about how much time you have and you have an answer chosen, but you want to go back and look at that later. Okay, so when you get to the end, we're most concerned about having nothing in this not answered circle, but you could still have some bookmarks. You don't have to take those off of those questions once you're done, unless it really bothers you to have a number down there. Some people it would, some people would not care. All right, when you get to the end, and I'm going to show you how they got here. So we are right now on this tutorial on question 6. There's like 857 questions, but really there won't be that many on the real test. So I would push end of section down here. I'm not going to push it because I don't want to go to the end of section. But once I push end of section, that's what it's going to, where it's going to show this page. And then it's going to say, whoa, 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 whoa. You still have 4 questions that you didn't answer. And by the way, you have 2 bookmarks that you wanted to go back and check on. Okay, so that is where you would want to click on that review button and then go to those questions. Okay, then once you have done that, and I think it would be really smart to click on that even if your number is 0, and just go through each problem and make sure you chose the best answer. Okay, especially if you have a bunch of time left, because what we don't want is to be turning a test in early, like super early, because that usually is not as good of a score as if you would have taken a little bit more time to check over your work. Okay, so hopefully you will have a green check mark in that box and not a not answered and a number there, and then you would hit final, submit final answers. Then it's going to come up with another box, which it doesn't show in this tutorial, but I'll show you at the end. That's like, okay, are you really, really, really sure? And then once you click save, then it's going to log you out of the system and you are done. There's no going back to it. It is over, finished. I can't think of another synonym, so we'll just keep going. All right, so I'm going to skip that part. So the only thing, I'll try to remember to talk about Notepad in a second when we go through all of these. So pointer tool is pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much what you always use the pointer for when you are selecting a single or multiple choice answer, when you're dragging a choice to the correct spot in a drag and drop, when you're clicking on a hotspot, or when you're deselecting another tool. So if I clicked on calculator, then I would deselect that by just clicking again on that pointer. Okay, so pretty much what you already know. All right, so I am going to go to the next slide so we can practice using these. So I'm just going to pull down from this top bar up here, and you can see I have two different rulers and then a protractor and then a calculator. Okay. So this first one, by the way, I'm just dragging around by putting my finger on it and dragging it just wherever I want it to go. If, for example, like in this problem, you need to turn that calculator, that ruler, then you do that by pushing on one of these circles at the side. So I'm going to move that to the angle I want it to be. We're not quite there, so I'm going to move it back. And then just a quick reminder that you are not starting that ruler at the end of the ruler, you are starting that ruler at 0. Okay, so if I was measuring this line in inches, it would be about 4 inches long. Okay, now if the answer was not supposed to be in inches but centimeters, then we would click on this other ruler. Same thing, I'm going to turn it and oops. And again, I'm going to start at 0 instead of the end. And it looks like it's about 8.5, almost 9 centimeters long. Okay. Now, if I was measuring an angle, so we're going to pretend, I really wish that I could write on this screen while I am working with this, but you can move the protractor the same way that you could that ruler, okay? And I'm gonna pretend like my line here is part of an angle and then the edge of this white paper where my words are is the other end of my angle. So I'm going to continue that line so it goes down to there. And I should not have messed with that. So I'm just going to make sure that's 90 degrees because a piece of paper should be. Okay, so if I am looking at where this line, oh, sorry, helps if I show you right. I'm trying to make two different angles here. All right, so I'm going to put the end or that line underneath on 0. Okay, and I could do the same thing if I went back this other way, but then I'm not going to be on it. So just note that there are two sets of numbers, and you have to really pay attention to what set you are looking at. All right, so I'm at 0 there, and I'm going to the edge of this white, and I see it's about 60 degrees or 120 degrees. And I know that it has to be 60 because that angle would be an acute angle, like a little bitty acute angle. And I know that 120 is an obtuse angle, so that would be too big, okay? So just have to think about whether it's acute or obtuse, and that will tell you which number to use, okay? All right, so let's go on to the next one. It's just wanting us to pull down this calculator. Now, the calculator will probably not always be there because they do not want you to be using the calculator on problems that you should be able to do in your head, okay? Excuse me, or on your scratch paper because remember, you'll have that too. So I'm kind of surprised that this is an example because you could totally do this without a calculator, but whatever. So I would just type in 18 plus 22. And the only thing I want to remind you of here is just because your answer is on the calculator does not mean you are done. You still have to find that answer over here in your choices and make sure you click it, okay? Because the test does not know what's on this calculator, even though calculator is part of the test, okay? So just make sure you choose an answer once you have an answer there. Okay, this next one is called Answer Eliminator. I'll show you how that works really quickly. You do not have to use this tool, but I think it's kind of nice because it helps you to really zero in on what your possible answers are. So if I know for sure that A doesn't make sense and D doesn't make sense, then I can click on that answer eliminator. It's just going to cross them out so that my eyes can really focus on B and C. So I can just really read. This tool places an X on an answer choice. This tool deletes an answer choice from the screen. Well, I mean, I've just done it twice. It didn't delete an answer from the screen, so the answer has to be B. Now, if I click on B now, it's going to cross it out because I still have answer eliminator. So I'm just going to click that again to take it off. And remember back in the directions when we were talking about this pointer tool, that is how you take it off of any of the other tools up there. So then I'm going to click that again. B is my answer. And I'm going to go on to the next one. Now, highlighting tool, a couple things about this. So you might want to use highlighting tool if you have kind of looked ahead at what the question is that goes along with passage, and you know that you're looking for I don't know, character traits. So as you're reading, you're kind of highlighting those key words that are going to help you with the character traits later. Another reason why you might want to use text highlighting is because some people, their eyes actually can read it better if they have a different color behind there besides just white. Okay, so that's totally up to you. You guys have probably done something like this before when you have copy and pasted from like a document online to to like a Google Doc or a Google slide or something. Okay. So if I want to highlight just the word highlight, I would leave it where it is. But if I want to do more than that, then I'm going to push on this little dot and I can move it as long as I want. I can move this other side also, so I can go all the way to the beginning of that sentence. And then I can just choose which color do I want. Well, that really just depends on what you're doing. Maybe you have one for setting and you want to do it blue, and then you have one for character traits and you want to do pink. It doesn't really matter because remember, you don't have to use this, it's just an option. Now, if I decided I didn't want that to be highlighted anymore, all I have to do is go back up and click this white box with the line through it. But before I do that, I just want to point out where this black stuff is right now, that will not show up on your screen because you'll be locked into the test. Since this is a tutorial, it's not locking me into it. So just so you know, that stuff will not be there to help you look up or share or copy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off and then it is gone. Okay. Now we are going to buzz through some of these tools because they're accessibility tools and you will not get them. So one of the things I want to show on here is not really the line reader mask because you probably will not have that, but I want to show you the different ways to kind of manipulate when you have text on your screen. So you probably notice if I put my finger in this box that that black line at the side moves, that is called your scroll bar. And it is there to kind of remind you, hey, there's more story down here, okay? Because you don't want to think that you're done reading and really you have a bunch of story left to read. So the way you get there, just anywhere inside that box where the story is, you can drag your finger just like you would normally scroll, okay? Now, the reason I'm showing you that is because there are two ways to scroll on the screen. One is within this box where the text is, but you'll also want to be scrolling at the side as well. Chances are, especially for a long passage like this one, there will be more than one question at the right side. So you want to make sure that you do all of the questions. Otherwise, you're going to get to the end and on that review, it's going to say, hey, you didn't do two questions. You'll be like, yes, I did. And then you're going to go back and realize, oh, I forgot to scroll down. So it's probably a good habit just to scroll and make sure that you are done with the whole page before you actually move on. Okay. So I'm going to click D because I want you guys to see when we get done that all my stuff is done. Again, you don't even need Zoom because you can Zoom on your iPads anyway. Text to speech, I don't even know who they're giving that to. Uh-oh, I have one that's not answered. Now, even if I had a check mark here, it's still going to be a good idea for me to go back and review, okay? I know you get done with the test and you're not going to feel like reviewing, but you need to have me in your ear saying, go back and review so that you can make sure you chose your best answers, okay? Now, I also want to make sure I go back to number 11. Oh, it's telling me at the bottom that answer is A, so I'm going to choose that. All right, now I want to show you what it looks like when we go to end of section. So now I have that check mark because all of my questions are answered. I have a bookmark, but I'm not going to worry about that because I just did that to show you. So when I click submit final answers, remember I said it's gonna be like, hold on, are you really, really sure? Did you really check that over? If I didn't really check that over, I can push no, but once I push yes, I'm done. I cannot go back and fix anything, and it's gonna log me out of the test, okay? All right, so there is that one. Now I'm gonna go back to the sign in because I want to show you a couple of the different types of questions that you are going to have. All right, so the first one you've seen 875 times. It is called multiple choice. And with multiple choice, you know there is only one correct answer. So a lot of times, and I'll give you kind of a little hint here, if you are reading these and two of them sound right, you might want to look at what your answer D is, because chances are that 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 answer D could actually be the choice because it is more than one. Okay, the next way or the next type of question, oh, I didn't mean to do that, is multiple select. And you can see that our little buttons to the side have changed from circles to squares, okay? So in multiple select, that means that there is more than one correct answer. So sometimes it will tell you, like in this one, it says select 3. I don't know if it's always bold like that or if that's just this example so that we know. But you want to make sure that you're reading through each one of those so that you're choosing each one that makes sense there, okay? So this one says choose 3. I'm not actually reading these, so I'm just going to kind of pick 3 so that you see what that looks like. Then I'm not going to do these practice ones. Okay, so the next one, I think this is the fourth type of question, is drag and drop. So all I have to do is click on that and I'm just dragging it to where it goes. So it's not like map where you click on it and then click in the box where you want it to go. You have to actually drag it, okay? So I'm going to put those in there. Oh, and I noticed that I accidentally switched 3 and 4. So I cannot drag it over to where it needs to go. I have to drag it out first, okay? Because the test knows only 2 things should be in those boxes. So I'm going to put 3 where it goes and 4 where it goes, okay? So that's all you have to do there. All right. Okay. Equation editor. You are just going to write an equation or a number sentence. So on this one, I'm only putting numbers in this box, okay? And I'm not just putting numbers, I'm putting a number sentence or an equation, okay? So if I went back to my one of the last questions where we were using that calculator, it was 18 plus 22 equals 40. Then that's all I have to put in that box, okay? Now, if I was doing a problem and it had fractions in it, then there are 2 ways that you can actually write a fraction. One way is you're going to put in your numerator and then you're going to put a backslash and then your denominator. The other way is I can click on this button. Hopefully, did you see it? Click it a couple times so you can see. And that is going to fill in or allow me to fill in the fraction that I need. I kind of like the other way better because I have a really hard time getting it in the box unless I zoom in like this. Okay, so if, for example, my problem now is 1/2 plus 2/2 equals, and I know that that answer is going to be 3/2, but I have to write that as a mixed number, then I'm going to push this button right here. Okay, so you can see my cursor is in that whole number spot. So I know I have one whole. See, and here's why I don't like that. It's hard to get in there. And one, oh, wow, I did that a lot better than I usually do. And 1/2 is my answer, okay? Um, okay, all right, now down here, you are going to be writing your equation, and this is where you're going to type any explanation, okay? So I could say the answer, oh, helps if I can type, answer is 1 and 1/2 because 2/2 is equal to 1 whole, and I add 1, oops, not Q, 1/2 to that, okay? Oops. All right, so I'm right. I can't get to the end of that. All right, so then I need to make sure that I put that number sentence in also. So 1/2 plus 2/2 equals 1 and 1/2. And for that one, I just put the 1 and then I put a space and then the 1/2 the way I was doing it with the backslash. I feel like it's a little bit easier, but I don't think it lets you put spaces up in the editor above. So you have to use this button with the mixed number to do a mixed number there. But in this box, you don't have to. Okay, so this one is just for your number sentence, for your equation. This one is for a number sentence, for an equation, and a little bit of an explanation also, okay? All right. Oh no, what question are we on? I think this is number 9. It keeps kicking me out today. Didn't do this one time yesterday. Of course, while I'm doing a video, it wants to show off a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go, I think that was question 9, yeah. And okay, so here's the next type of question that you might see. It is fill in the blank. So the only thing you're writing here is the answer, okay? So I know that 8 plus 16 is 24, 24 times 3 is 72, 72 divided by 4 is 18, so that's all I have to write there, okay? I don't even have to write the units because it has that on the outside of that box. Okay, then the next type is a hotspot. So with the hotspot, wherever I touch on this number line, that is where my answer is. Okay, so it wants me to plot where 5/3 would be on the number line. So I know this is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, or 1 whole, 4/3, 5/3. So that's my answer. I don't do anything else, and I go on to the next problem. Okay, now same thing on that one. Okay, then we have inline choice items. So this one, it wants to know the number 234 is multiplied by 10. So really that just means I'm adding a 0 to the end. So the numeral 2 is representing what place value. So right now it's in the hundreds, but then it would be in the thousands. That would represent 2,000. Okay, so all I did was click on that box. All my answer choices came up. I chose the one I wanted, and then I'm on to the next one. Okay, so that one's pretty easy. All right. Then this one is only for 4th grade, so skip, skippy, skip. All right, then the last thing, and then I will stop talking, is the drawing box. So you might have to, for example, the question might be, draw a shape with a perimeter of 8. Okay, well, the first shape I'm thinking of is a square. So I'm just going to draw a quick square. And even though it doesn't look like a square because it's kind of smashy, kind of like some of my Amazon boxes when they come in, they will know it's a square because I'm going to put my measurements on the side. So I know squares, each side has the same. So 2, 4, 6, 8, that would be 8. And I'm going to just write a number sentence down here also so that it proves that that does equal 8. I probably could make it even better by writing like feet if that is the unit they wanted me to use. And then write feet, except I don't have room at the side. Now oh, did not mean to do that line there. There are some other tools out here to the side, but what I'm gonna suggest is that you try not to mess with those because you don't wanna waste your time changing things, okay? I do want to show you really quickly what they are though. So what I was just using is the pencil. That's what automatically is on here. There is also one that gives you straight lines. So I could have really quickly just made a square, but I think it was a lot faster and I didn't have any holes in it like I did with that one. Okay, and then obviously we have our eraser here so that I can fix where the square was. I don't know why it's not letting me do it now, where the square had a hole in it. Okay, then I can also switch to, and there might be more colors on there now, I'm not sure. If I wanted, oh, I don't want to do that though. If I was like using this to make counters, and like there are 3 green apples and there are 4 black apples, which I hope you're not going to eat because they shouldn't be black. How many apples in all? Then I can write my number sentence 3 plus 4 equals 7. Then you can also make that a little bit bigger. Then I would only have to really do dots instead of worrying about making those circles. There's a backwards and a forwards, and then you can just junk it all. Okay. But like I said, if it were me, I would try to just do it really fast with a pencil and just make sure that someone else is going to be able to understand what I'm doing. Now, right now, this box is pretty small. Let me move on to, well, it looks like it might be the same size. So one last thing before I wrap up. You are going to have scratch paper. I hope that you use your scratch paper. However, I don't want you to forget to put your answers back on here. Okay, they're not grading your scratch paper. Actually, when you turn in that scratch paper to the adult, it goes into the shredder. It does not go anywhere to whoever grades the test. Okay, so you have to make sure if you do any work on your scratch paper that you're transferring it onto this test. Okay, because you may have drawn the best square with a perimeter of 8 that you could draw, but if it's not in this box, it does not get graded. Okay, same thing up here with your response. If you don't have, I know that 1/2 plus 2/2 is 1 1/2 because blah, blah, blah. If that's written on your paper, you're not going to get any credit for it. So anytime that there is a box there, make sure you have something in it. Okay. All right. So that is the end of my spiel. I apologize if that was super fast. Please let your teacher know if you have a question about anything. I would be happy to explain it further when we have a little bit more time. Okay. All right, friends. So good luck on your testing. Do not feel nervous. This is not going to affect whether you go on to the next grade. It is not going to affect what you get on your report card. It is not even this year going to be bad for our school if you don't do well. Okay. We know it's been a crazy year. So we just want you to do your best. And really, what this test is for is to show us what we're teaching really well and to show us maybe what we can teach in a different way. Okay, so do not be nervous. Good luck, and I will see you guys later. Bye.